What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Power Wheels Podcast. I'm your host, Lefty the Great, and to my virtual left, is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Allan Placer. You like that shirt?
Yeah, you got the Northeast RC Racers podcast shirt my buddy George makes.
Awesome. I did see George is getting some new RC body. He just got some RC bodies painted, so he's threatening to come out and do some RC. It looks like
he is. That Euro truck body he just had done is really sweet looking.
George is. Well, shout out to George Texaris. He's also an avid RC boat fan now. No, I got him into that. So he's a friend of ours, friend of Allan, and an avid e-buggyist and e-truggyist.
Hardcore.
So what's up, Allan? You just are back from your road trip to North Carolina. This podcast, we're going to talk about that and some tech tips that you have going on. So yeah, you look tired, dude.
Yeah, it was exhausting. Today's Tuesday. I got back Sunday afternoon. I'm still exhausted from it. It's a 12-hour RV trip down there. First, shout out to Alex Teeter, Oxford Powerful Wheel Racing, for inviting us down. And it was such a cool time. This was part of a TV show. PowerTube TV channel is doing Pink's All Out. Which Pink's All Out 2.0. If for the real car racer guys, you might remember the Pink show where people raced real cars for pink slips on a drag strip. Well, they're rebooting the show, and they asked Alex to come down to do a Power Wheel drag race right alongside the real cars at Rockingham Dragway. So Alex, he's such a good marketer and planner of these events. Rockingham is great midway for all the Power Wheel racers in Texas and in Florida, and of course his group. So people traveled across the country to come to this and have a good shootout. So it was a really awesome event. It was my boy there. And so we had, when we first got down there, Friday night at 6:30, we were supposed to do an exhibition race for the cameras, but that wound up getting rained out. So this video is Saturday morning when the real Power Wheels race was going down. We were on a side shoot, this beautiful asphalt pad that they had. It looked like drifters were playing on it beforehand. The track crew came down and blew the track off for us. Alice has his sauce that he puts on the start line that they got the traction. It was a ton of traction on this asphalt, actually. And so they got to race here the whole day. It was hot. North Carolina, 80s, high 80s, and high humidity hot. And everybody just tolerated it well and did well with it. The racing was awesome to see. There was, I think, 33 modified class registrations and a ton of outlaws, some stock class people. These are, some of the most hardcore racers out there. And it was a great opportunity for ML Toys. We bought parts down there to help support, broken cars, keep them running. But more so for me was to get to meet all the cool dads and moms that are involved in the racing. We always talk about how there's more girls in Power Wheel drag racing driving the cars. But as you see there's a ton of moms that they're the crew chief and they do the work too. So shout out to them. But to get to meet everybody in person, it's so much different than emailing. And to be in the pits when, they're wrenching on the cars and trying to figure out problems or get them fixed and, get my hands dirty helping them out. It was a lot of good R&D for ML, and that was more valuable than anything. And, some of the track sauce they do, flame it on to make it stick. It's cool. Alex has got this down pat. Everything went smooth. No computer hiccups, just it ran so nice. So he knows what he's doing. I was thrilled to do it. I think we're going to try to make more of the events also.
I mean, there's some good hits going on here from these kids, and these cars are fast.
Some really fast pace tracks. Really fast passes. When we went out onto the main drag strip, they got the whole light tree up there with timing and speed, and I think there was a 29 and change 60-foot speed run by one of the kids, and They're amazing how quick. And the kids love it. They do it well. They get down to the end of the drag strip and they're just sitting in the car while it stopped. They're just like, I want to do it again. They don't want to get out of the car. Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I see that some of these cars have like a is that the brake that they have? That it's like I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Under the rear bumper there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have these are all homemade still, these brakes, but basically what's coming into popularity is the kids hit a switch in the car that drops down like a big heavy rubber bar or pad that hits the ground. Ideally, it actually lifts the rear tires off the ground. So now there can be no more thrust from the car and it drags them to a stop very quickly. There's no accidentally hitting the gas or anything because tires are off the ground. It's a great idea. It's a long way from becoming like a kit we can put together. At this track, we had, as you can see at the end, there's a grass runoff. So you didn't really need to run the brakes because the grass would stop it pretty good. But when you're on these drag strips, these cars will coast, for a quarter mile.
Man, there's some good looking cars here.
Oh
Good
my
looking
god, the
cars.
paint job. Most of these aren't wraps. There's a couple of wraps there. A lot of paint jobs, just deep metallic colors that the camera never picks up well. Definitely cool. A lot of pride from the dads and moms that put these together. Like, you can make a car go fast and leave it be ugly and save time and money, but they're making them hot looking, and I think that's part of it. It should be.
Yeah, make it look good. You can see. So we're watching if you go over to Teeter Built, he's Alex has started his own channel to show people how to build these cars and also catch up with his races. He did a great vlog from this. So this is on his Teeter Built YouTube. Go over there and hit that sub, like, and notification button. Help that get up. Oh, look, a semi truck. I like it.
Yeah, he actually has smoke to come out of the stacks, but it got rained on and shorted out. But yeah, it's 6-wheel drive, all four-wheel drive in the rear, and yeah, that was a cool car.
Oh no, that's Zoe. That's Alex's daughter. She didn't get the
Yeah. The
man.
problem with being the race director, as you know, is you don't have time to work on your cars, so sometimes they don't go. And his kids take it well; they're great.
Yeah, this teaches kids how to win good and lose good as well, right? You got to learn
Yeah.
how to be a good loser and a good winner.
Yep. Alex's son is out at the end of I constantly saw him at the end of the drag strip congratulating other kids on their good passes, and even when they don't do well, it's awesome. It's such a true race spirit that kid has.
Well, it looks like man. It makes me want to come to one of these events even more because it's great to see fathers, mothers, uncles, aunts, everybody there cheering on the kids. It looks like the Steve McQueen and the Corvettes are the most popular for the drag racing. What would be the reason for that?
Because they're the smallest, lightest Power Wheels there is, and Power Wheels brand definitely is still the lead brand of car because of the gearbox, just the ease of their gearboxes take the second most abuse. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And the cars don't have circuit boards, so it's very easy to convert them to make them drag race capable. It's just an easy car to work with.
Oh wow! So that is I've never seen one of those. That was on the right side, on the right lane.
I didn't
That
see
looks
what that
similar.
was. Was that a
Let's
Dune
go back.
Racer?
I'll go back to it. It looks like
Oh,
the
that's
drag.
the Mickey Mouse car. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool looking little roadster. Similar look to the roadster that we're designing. I think roadster it's an inexpensive entry to building a car, and for drag racing, obviously, just like real cars proved at the roadster, keep it light, keep it small, give it a lot of traction, you'll go fast.
Yeah, absolutely. This is good to see, man. I'm glad you guys got some good weather because I asked you on Friday and you're like, it's been raining all day. But that's Carolinas, man. You could have rain one day. You can have rain in the morning and beautiful sun and hot in the afternoon.
It was torrential. It all of a sudden started to dump, and you didn't see it coming, and we all on Friday, 10 of us went underneath Alex's pop-up tent, and we're just standing there waiting for the rain to stop, and it kept getting more and more, and like, all right, now you're standing on wet grass, and now there's a quarter inch of water, and then eventually, like, it was over the soles of our sneakers, and we're all just sopping wet feet, and oh my god, did it pour! But fortunately, the grounds down there drain very quickly. It's very sandy ground, so it was good to go pretty quick.
Awesome. It looks like a very good crowd here. And I assume the drag track is on the other side of where those cars are parked, where the bleachers are.
Yeah, where those bleachers are, it's off to the left in this camera view right now is the real drag strip. If you had the sound on, you hear them blasting down the track every now and then.
Did you get to
And
go over there and see some of them go?
yeah, my RV parking spot was right at the finish line of the drag strip, and like my windshield is 30 feet from the track, so we're sitting in air conditioning watching the drag racing when we're not here. That was so cool to get to do to sit, drink, eat, and race in the cool comfort.
Oh, so I'm watching some. That's awesome. I've never actually been to a drag race in my life.
No, they got drag strips down there. You got to get out and see it. The power, like you feel it going through your chest when
Yeah,
you know they got those over 1,000 horsepower cars going.
yeah. I did see some pictures of that young lady with the tractor Power Wheels or Ride One, and she had some cool pictures of uh, pulling wheelies and all that type of stuff. Lots of good content came out. You sent me a bunch. We're going to start uploading a lot of that stuff. Man, it's great to see. I have Brian Boucher on. I have a podcast with him, and he was this. I mean, I know we're kind of focused on the drag racing side because it seems to be where a lot of the RD is coming out and about. But he was telling me he's like there are events popping up everywhere right now. With it's growing in popularity. This sport, it's a sport, right? It's a hobby slash sport.
Yeah, we always struggle with that term in RC cars, but I think in this, it's definitely more sport than hobby. And it like we can't keep track of it. I get 2-3 emails a week from people that are starting up, mostly drag racing, but we get oval and smash up derby and just every type of racing. And we're trying to support as much as we can. We weren't even going to do racing parts this year. We've been watching and like, as it gets more popular, we're going to be ready to get into it. And it's just growing so quickly that we're rapidly spending more and more time developing parts or just sourcing parts that people can use to put together drag racers, which also segue into the other forms of racing as well.
Ooh, there's Alex. I watched him get so excited that his daughter Zoe won earlier, and that's good to see, right?
Oh yeah. No, he's pumped for her. She's, don't want to put kid against kid, but I think she has more potential to go faster. Second.
Oh yeah, she's what 2 years old? 2 years old?
2 years old. She's adorable.
Wow, I think some of these cars need to get some wheelie bars. I've seen quite a few wheelies.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things we spent a bit of time. We've been working with Alex on developing a wheelie bar kit, from this race, I think I've come up with something. I just need time, but I think I'm coming up with a kit that will be very easy for dads, moms. I got to say moms now too, to put together and put a wheelie bar onto a car. Inexpensive. Much the kit I was designing, I think I got to scrap because this one will be half the price that we're coming out with.
Okay.
I just need time to get it done.
Well, that's a good segue into my next question is what type of things did you learn on this trip and talking to people that are racing and meeting, it's always good to meet and greet, right? And it's always good to talk to somebody in person because you can also always communicate better than it is over Facebook, over text, over email and stuff. So how was the reception and what did you learn as an entrepreneur and designer of parts from this event?
I couldn't have been more happy with the reception. We design cars 99% for backyard bashing, which is, a quarter of the power that what these guys are putting through the cars. So early on in the racing community, we were getting bashed on a bunch because we just, we weren't designing parts that could handle this kind of power. People would use it would break, and it's our fault. And but when we got there, man, everybody was fabulous. They would come to us and say, "Hey, this is the problem I'm having. I need help with," or "What do I do to solve this?" And I didn't always know. Um, and then, whenever I would see a car have a failure on the strip, I'd follow that car back to the pits, and I want to see what's failing. I want to see what's going on with them, so that we can help them, you know, get over these pain points. The less they fail, the more fun they have, and then also that means they can start designing cars that take more and more power. So I'm going to fix whatever the weakest point is now. Just like with real cars, you're going to add more power and find a new weakest point, but that's how you build them up. So the people were fabulous, very supportive and helpful. Um, I think the biggest thing, the wheelie bars was a big one to see, to get to see all the different homemade wheelie bars that people had come up with and see what worked, what didn't work, and go from there. But the number one failure by far, I think Alex even created his own video without me talking to him, was gears. These guys are still stripping out gears by the ton. And look, it makes sense. Even a top fuel dragster has a clutch. It has a torque converter. They don't just put the crankshaft right to the wheel. And we don't have that in the Power Wheels. And we're nowhere near having one because the cost to design it would be way, way too expensive. So I'm seeing guys strip out a ton of gears, and it's what the failures I'm seeing, it's just not necessary. Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about gear setup with these cars. So can I take a few minutes and let's chat
Absolutely.
about them? So I want to show you guys all. This is for the racers here. I don't know how much the camera is going to catch this. This is
Got
a
it.
Power Wheel 7R gearbox. This is an ML Toys Phoenix gearbox. They look the same. And I think that's the biggest problem. Maybe I should have made these in red or something. But I think everybody think, oh, it looks so similar, so it must be the same thing. We designed these gearboxes specifically to be a stronger replacement for these, not just so we can have a gearbox to sell. We wanted to make a better product. So let me take a second and explain why this is so much better than a 7R. 7R is a great backyard bash gearbox. It certainly, for 20 some odd years, was the most durable. I think even today, the most durable stock gearbox made. But here, some of the problems it has, these gearboxes are flexible. You can bend this gearbox housing. So when we started off, first thing I knew is I needed to use a more rigid plastic for the housing. So it's a different material than what they have. And you see that right away when you have them hand in hand. Because when you have, especially these dual motor setups, when that motor hits, it torques, it twists. That's why we have the aluminum motor mounts that we use. And so it'll twist the whole gear casing. When you do that, you twist the gear mesh. Like the gears will separate a little bit under that torque, and bam, instant strip. As soon as you start stripping a one tooth, the whole thing is just going to round itself out, because the next rotation around, now the motor catches a little speed, hits the next tooth, and rips that off because it was, that stutter that it has. So in less than a second, you round off the entire gear. So we fixed that issue, of the shafts actually moving, by making a stiffer gearbox. The other thing we did is we changed the material that the gears are made of. Again, you can't tell by looking at these. This is the 7R one. This is the Phoenix one. If you hold them in your hands, though, you feel this is a heavier gear. We used a denser nylon filament material. And the final drive studs here are also a little bit thicker than these ones, but it's a denser plastic in all three of the gears. Well, four if you're still running the first gears for the regular folks. So they look very similar. They're actually not compatible from one gearbox to another. You can't swap them from one to the other, because we had to make some things a little bit different to make it work better. But you do feel in your hand, if I had a little scale here, you would see the ounces of difference in weight, because these are a thicker gear. Now, we get a little pushback from people saying, oh, if you change one gear to steel, you got to change all of them to steel, because the first gear is a popular one to make out of steel. Well, that's not the case. There's a thing called kinetic energy. It's basically the measure of the amount of power of something. So it takes so much kinetic energy to break the first gear, the top gear on a gearbox, because it's the weakest gear because it's smaller, skinnier, finer tooth mesh. So let's just pick numbers. Let's say it takes 100 kinetic energies to break a first gear. Well, a second gear might take 200 kinetic energies to break. A third gear might take 400 kinetic energies to break. So each time you get, as you get further down the gearbox, there's also less kinetic energy on the gears because the gear ratio is cutting down, and the gear gets thicker as they go down the gearbox. But you only need to design gears to handle as much kinetic energy as going to go through them. So replacing them all with steel would make everything very heavy, very expensive, would create a lot of heat issues also. Nylon, dissipates heat very well. So, we want to keep the gears lightweight as possible, but as strong as possible. And that's where we found we're not seeing these cars stripping out second, third, and final gears on the drag strip when they're using the Phoenix gearboxes. So I can't encourage you guys in the racing world to, while it looks the same, it is significantly different. I want to show you one other difference that we did with these. This one, the camera probably won't pick up. The final drive gear sits on this hub. Now, there's some people that put a bearing inside that hub, but it doesn't really matter. There we go. That's a little better. If you put a bearing in there, that helps the axle not have as much play, and that's useful. But the final drive gear is running on the outer portion of this ring. And when it's running on that, it's got to be lubricated. It's got to have grease running through it. So a 7R gearbox has 3 grease channels around it, and they're a little wide, but the grease has to get from the grease channel into the non-grease channel portion as the gear rotates. And we see a lot of meltdowns of this ring because the grease isn't getting all the way around. So when we designed our gearbox, we put 6 channels. I don't think the camera is going to pick that up. There are 6 grooves in there. Little minor things like that make a huge difference, especially when you're doing something like drag racing, pushing everything to the most, the limits. So these stay a lot better greased than the other one does, and we just don't see the meltdowns. Very common to see. As a matter of fact, this old test gearbox we have, you see all the black plastic that's transferred onto the final drive gear. That's from the final drive gear starting to move around on its shaft. This is, we've been testing this one out for a while. This is one of ours we use for different stuff. This has actually got a first gear delete setup in it, and there's no wear to it. So huge differences in the tech. I hate for the kids more than the dads when a kid hits the gas and it doesn't make it down to the end of the strip. The dads have the expense and the shame and all that, but the kid didn't get to race. So just want to encourage everybody to look at those differences that, we're putting out there for them.
So I assume that a lot of people just using the stock gearboxes and just updating the motors and stuff like that and updating the gear.
Yeah, they're in the most common is to do the first gear delete and run 2 motors onto the second gear. But yeah, most of them are using the stock gearboxes. They came with the car. They already had them. Power Wheels have been producing them for 20 some odd years. So there's a ton of them out there in junkyards floating around. Look, you want to win, you got to use the best equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got my daughter's one all set up, and I was like, "Hey, take it easy." Nope. She was peeling rubber out of there. I have some videos of her. I just ordered her a helmet, right?
Okay.
Because I realized that we're getting a little faster now, right? So our plan with my daughter, is because we don't have no drag strips and stuff like that. We're gonna do a little off-roading. We're gonna take it on a little off-road tour and stuff like that. So I got my Phoenix gearboxes in there, and they're pretty good. They're holding up pretty good. The motors, I was impressed. Like how I was like, when she took off, I was like, okay, this is a lot faster than a stock car. And she loved it. She was zooming all about the road her and stuff. So we're gonna get a little bit of off road. But yeah, I see what you mean. Also in RC, we used to have that. Oh, I keep coming back to RC. We used to have that. Oh, we need to put, if you look at our RC car transmission, like two-wheel drive, let's see, two-wheel drive 10 scale and stuff like that. In their transmission, it's not metal gears, it's plastic. You can have a metal gear, they might have one gear that's metal, but eventually when you put all metal, something else breaks, right? So it's that the plastic has a purpose. It dissipates power somewhere, or kinetic energy. That's a better word I guess I could use for it.
That's the correct word for it.
So I'm not an engineer, but it dissipates. I remember back in the day, was like we needed to get aluminum A-arms and aluminum this and aluminum hubs and all that stuff. But when you do all of that, something else breaks, right? The reason these plastics are designed is to have tolerances, to have give. If you put for instance, if you put a aluminum A-arm on an aluminum hub, well, you know what's going to break? The steel hinge pins that connects it. That probably wouldn't have broke before because the plastic had some give. You're actually going to end up breaking. It's funny. You end up actually breaking more than you did with the plastic stuff in some cases, but that's an RC. So I can see where this is applied. I also understand where people are like, well, we can get an abundance of them. We can just replace them. But that doesn't help when it strips halfway down the drag strip.
Yeah.
So cool stuff. Check out the Phoenix gearboxes. What else did you besides that, what else did you take notice of? I see they're doing a whole bunch of tire prep. We talk about that with Brian and all that type of stuff. And that kind of eliminates the whole clutch factor that you talk about in one of your videos with the wheels spinning, but you can't have spinning wheels in drag racing.
Yeah, the tires we're still a long way from that one too. There are people 3D printing tire like caps to go over them. I haven't seen a 3D printed material yet that's really good to use as a tire tread. You spin it, it's going to melt and deform. It doesn't give much more traction than a regular hard plastic tire. Really, the ultimate traction is coming from the bicycle tires, putting them on, but you get too much traction. And the traction in the racing also varies on the track that you're at. And, the weather will play some play in it, not as much as with big cars, but it definitely does. Most of the dads we see adjusting traction by changing the pinion gear on the motor, basically trying to limit the wheel spin, but not, if you remove it all, that's when you're going to start ripping up gears. You want those tires to chirp a little right at the start and then go. And that's an art. That's where the crew chief is, getting paid the big bucks, is to get that traction down.
Did we see any father show up in like a full trailer, rigs and workshop in there and all that type of cool stuff?
Oh yeah, the boys from Texas rolled in with pretty good trailer, and they had a sweet. Everybody really had a good setup going on to work on their cars. Not on the level that we do with RC racing yet. Most of them you set up a folding table and you work on top of that. You don't need a whole lot more than that. That's one of the great things with Power Wheels.
Yeah, it's also like the size of a go-kart. I guess one of those go-kart stands and whatnot. I do see that people have multiple cars. Like Brian I keep saying Brian because we've been talking a lot. He shows me a picture. He showed it on the internet. He found a Jeep and a Speed McQueen car in the trash. And I said, what was wrong with him? He said, just need the batteries.
Yeah, we see. I mean, there's guys that, they have one kid and they have 20 cars in the yard. And when you come to a drag race, I understand having multiple cars. I believe most of the tracks run, kids allowed to run multiple classes, but each car can only run in one class. So they'll have multiple cars for that. Plus you have backup cars. The great thing of Power Wheels, the most you should ever pay for a used Power Wheels is $100. A lot of times you can get them for free. So it makes it really tempting to just go out and be, oh, look, $50, another Power Wheels, and until your wife starts yelling at you.
I know. Part of me wants one of them the McQueen ones. I have another question. So was there any crossover? Was there any filming from the people filming the Pinks? Did they come over? Did any crossover whatsoever between that and the Power Wheels?
So, I mean, all the the real drag racers came over and checked it out. Pinks did do some filming. There was supposed to be a lot more, but because of the rain delays that put them behind on their schedule, we get it. This was supposed to be an exhibition for the main Pink show, and there were other drag race events there that were also an exhibition. So unfortunately, the Power Wheels does get pushed down to the lowest level, but there is going to be some TV exposure for it, which is great. Alex already got invited back down to Rockingham for some their other drag races that they do. I believe there's still an NHRA facility, so they have top-notch stuff there. It's a beautiful facility, very well done. They're redoing the grandstands there. They have like bathrooms with showers and like it's a wonderful layout to the facility. If you're into real drag racing, one of the things I raced there 20 years ago when I lived in North Carolina, 30 years ago now, maybe, I don't know. Their drag strip has a downhill leading up to the burnout pit, which means you don't have to start your real car and get it warm while you're waiting in line. You can just let it roll down the hill. And that's a big bonus for racers. So great facility, great planning.
Well, besides the weather on the first day, it sounds like it was a successful event for the Pinks, for Power Wheels. It's getting some exposure. In one of my RC WhatsApp groups here in the DR, it's a crawler group. A guy shared one of the Fast Kids reel. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing that too. I'm into that too. So, and people couldn't believe it. It's impressive. I'm into this now. So I'm starting to see a lot more Power Wheels coming across my feed and stuff like that. And that's where we need it, right? It's similar, but it's growing, man. I mean, I just got a flyer today for another event that's happening. I know I really want to get somebody on that's doing these demolition. I saw a video. I posted a video of a demolition derby, and anybody that's doing the off-road stuff. I know you said you also have a link to somebody who's doing adult Power Wheels, but not the downhill crazy Power Wheels, like actual ride ones for adults that are racing them.
Yeah, that's a cool group. You love it if you get them on. They are a like an adult STEM series. It's a club for adults who want to learn to do mechanical, electrical stuff. And one of the things that the club does is adults build their own Power Wheels, like modify them to be able to handle adult weights, and then they race them.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta check them out. So I just want to go over a little bit of my build experience with the kit, the Stage 4 kit that you sent me. I was very nervous getting into this. So I had my buddy come, he has an electric drill and all this stuff, and we did it on my coffee table in my living room, which I have a stone concrete coffee table, concrete top, stone top. And we got it done. He's a smart guy. And we got it done, and it was very simple to do. We soldered a lot of this stuff. We soldered everything because I wanted to solder it on. And we got it done in like an hour. We got the hook. We haven't put the lighting kit on it. We're going to save that for another time. But then I took it apart to check on some stuff the other day, and I just used a regular screwdriver and was able to do it all on my own. And I was like, okay, I can do this back and forth. I can take this apart and put it back together and do it. It's fairly easy, very easy to do.
Yeah, there's not much to them. You have one of the more difficult cars to get to the gearboxes, and difficult only because there's more screws you got to pull out. You got to take the seat off, and then that whole top cover. So more screws, but not a whole lot more difficult. And then you got the batteries in it too.
Yeah, I actually did. I was able to do it the second time without taking the seat off.
Oh, okay, cool. You learned how to access it. We encourage you to get the seat out of the way.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna put the lighting kit on it, and we'll take the seat off, and we'll do it. I want to kind of do it the right way, so we'll take it off. But we ran. You're excellent. I let him. He doesn't speak English. He speaks very little English, so I let him watch the video that you have on the ML Toys YouTube page, and he's like, "All right, I know what to do." And we spent I don't even know if my daughter was here, but we just spent a morning, afternoon putting it together. I had fun. Put it up on a chair, broke in the motors, and then she ripped grass. I was like, hey, take it easy. And I did order, I'm ordering some parts for you. I got that brake module thing. I think reduce the brake, because I did see, I don't want her, as soon as she comes off power, I don't want her to be on instant brakes. I want it to be gradual. It also helped with the gearbox and all that type of stuff, and not just throwing her forward, especially if we're going to do this little off-road route. I don't want her doing all that. So I'm really excited for it. She loved it. I have one video. She picked up one of her friends, and they went on zooming down the street, hit a probably one of the hardest mangoes I've ever seen. It sent them for a jolt. And what's funny is one of my neighbors.
Did you just say she hit a mango?
A mango on the road, and she rolled over, and it sent them like this. I was like, that was a hard mango.
That is not a problem we have in the States.
I know, man, dude. Mangoes. Let me tell you, in Bermuda, where I'm from, people pay $5 to $6 for a mango, and they're on the ground. And and I'm just like, I'm sick of mangoes. And then it was he's my neighbor. It's either Canadian or American, and he was on his electric bike, and he goes, "Man, that thing's fast." I said, "I know. We just souped up," and it's like it's pretty fast. I said, "I know," and it was quite impressive. And she loves it. She was zooming around, and I tried to get her to do some drifting. I was like, "Come around this corner and lock it and drift it." We'll get it on. We'll get it on. She has no fear whatsoever. She will love this. So we're gonna make Kiana's little off-road excursion, because I was like, what can I do to make content here? Well, we have a beautiful island that is the Dominican Republic. Let's go find some beautiful spots to go drive this Power Wheel, and that's our plan over the summer. All righty then. I'm gonna try and get Alex on as well. I know he's uber busy. I know he's going on vacation, which he deserves. And maybe we'll have to do that afterwards. But I thank you for the quick recap of that. I'm glad you went down there. I'm glad that you are embracing it and enjoying it. And like you said, using it for R&D. What racing is supposed to be. Yeah. A lot of people overlook that. Racing is very good for R&D. We see that in our RC world. So, and companies not doing it. But you do have some tech tips for us, or a tech tip for us. So maybe we can add some new product alert, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, the tech tip was the gear thing we covered there. But we have two new products I want to cover. I think we mentioned a little bit in the past. One, while we're talking about racers, is we just got the solenoid. Maybe you can pull that up on the screen that the racers use. Let's see if you can get that to pop up. And look, this isn't a part that we design. Obviously, this is an existing item, but it's so much nicer to be able to source all your parts in one spot, pay one shipping. So these are solenoids that, if what these guys are doing with the dragsters, if you were to just hit the gas pedal with all that power, some of these guys are running 6-cell lipos through them. I don't have a plunger switch here. The gas pedal switch isn't designed to handle that much power going through it. And they either fuse open so the car doesn't go anywhere, or worst case, they fuse closed and the car is just stuck at full power. And that's dangerous and bad. So what the racers came up with is this solenoid, which basically they're running, 8 or 10 gauge wire, and that connects to this solenoid. And then the small wires go to the foot pedal. So the foot pedal doesn't actually have all that power going through it. The foot pedal is basically just turning on and off this solenoid, which is a separate on-off switch to then run the power through this gigantic thing and launch the car. So much safer way to run. And they really don't break. These things should last forever in the car.
Now, is this something you would recommend to put in my Dune Racer for my daughter, maybe to smooth out her throttle experience?
No, not at all. It's still an on-off switch, so it's still just on-off throttle. This is just to be able to handle the higher current that the drag race community or anybody that is just designing a car with stupid amounts of power, 36 volts or more, or multiple lipo packs running. You need something like this to protect your kid.
That's right. And you can pick this up at ML Toys. We'll have links for that. And we have a coupon code that you can use to help you save some money. All right. And your next product is, you have it there with you, actually.
I do. This is a weird looking thing to a lot of people. If you have a Dune Racer with the large, there's 2 different wheels. Actually, there's been 4 different wheels that Dune Racers use, which really annoys us. More importantly, the F-150s that have the Raptors or the F-150 Extremes, or all of the Jeep Hurricanes. This is the inner drive wheel. This portion, the final drive gear locks into. These are discontinued by Mattel. And we make all the other parts to keep the car running, but these do strip on the inside. the axles sometimes get a little bit too much play in them, so this can separate from the drive gear, and then it starts to strip. And when they strip, they're done. So there's the outer portion of your wheel you can keep using, but we created our own mold for the inner drive wheel. So all you guys with it's the J4394-2529 tire. We also make a street version of that tire. Hey, I don't make up the part numbers.
I'm surprised that you know the part numbers. That was a long part number.
I've been doing this too long. J4394 is the model number of the first Jeep Hurricane, the first car to use that tire. And then -2529. I don't know how they come up with their tire part numbers. So this will be a replacement. This was our first test of the mold, and it worked perfectly. So now we have to get them into production. We approved that yesterday for production. Downside is production takes a while. Got to cross the ocean because you can't produce anything cheap enough in the U.S., but they will be here in the U.S., I would imagine, in late August, early September. And they will be much cheaper than you would expect. So we're happy to have that to keep all of the Jeep Hurricanes and F-150 Extremes on the road as the parts are beginning to fade away for them.
Absolutely. Awesome stuff. All right. I guess my next question, and we're probably going to wrap this up. This was a short podcast, which is unusual for me. What's up with the Howard? I know it's been only about a few weeks since we announced it, but how was the reception of the Power Wheels line that you're going to make, and how are things going for that? Like, I know it's just early times. You sent me a few renderings; they look cool. So, how's that going?
It's going great. Boy, it's a lot. There's a lot to doing this. It's changing my life because there's so much that you have to do. We keep right now. We're tweaking renderings, and the off-road car is gone from, when I say renderings, I mean 3D designs, basically, of just what the car is going to look like. And you have to do some tweaking right off the bat to make reality work. To get the tires that we want on there, you have to maybe move some wheel length around and different things. So we've been going through a lot of that tweaking. The on-road car is, I think they're actually both the on-road and off-road car at this point are pretty much done with that phase. And so now they're into the computer drawings of actually breaking it down. All right, how are the batteries going to fit in? How's the charge? We're going to use a charge port. And okay, we do want to use a charge port, but we want to be able to fast charge the batteries. All the chargers out there right now, all the charge ports are for slow charging. So we have we're redesigning the charge port to be a fast charge port. How do we make it so that you can easily add lights, plug and play lights into the cars? For the off-road car, they have to design it so that we want the off-road car to be four-wheel drive capable. It's going to come as two-wheel drive, but so we have to have the front axle set up so you can add a gearbox to it. Things like that they're designing on computer right now. There's just a lot to it. The reception's been fabulous. We haven't had anybody say that they didn't like the look of the cars, and that's important to sell them. Is for the majority of people that buy cars, they buy them for the looks. They don't understand all the nuances and the capabilities of them. That's what's helped the Chinese market grow. Is they make a cool looking car that's been pretty cheap quality. So we've got to make them look good, which costs money. But more importantly, really important to us, is we want these suckers to perform. We want everybody. It's going to be, instead of saying I have a Power Wheels, we want people to, 10 years from now saying I have an ML Toys.
There we go.
And I will not settle. I just got into an argument with my manufacturer the other day about which. The motors, the pinion gears on the motors. He wanted to use press fit pinion gears so that the motor has a pinion gear on it. I'm like, no, we want our customers to be able to change their gear ratios around. He's like, but in mass production, it's so much cheaper and easier to do it this way. So things like that we go back and forth with, working out to balance the practicality and the affordability versus giving people what they really want in a car, getting it to market. Now, I do want to say I get asked this a lot about how fast the cars are going to go. They are going to be 12-volt out of the box. They will have our performance motors, but there are laws in the United States. I believe 6 miles an hour is the max we can make them go out of the box. But that's kind of the point of this is you start with a stock car with your young child, and as they grow up, you'll be able to easily put in faster motors, easily increase the voltage. We're creating battery compartments that are designed to stretch as you want to go to an 18-volt SLA, 24-volt SLA. They're bigger batteries, so the battery compartment has to handle that. Of course, you can't just ignore lithium batteries. We'll have adaptability for that. So it's been a fun, long process so far, and it's just started. Right now, everything's going on schedule, and on schedule puts us late spring of next year to have the first production run here in the U.S. I would be naive if I thought we're going to get all the way to late spring without any delays. So we'll just see what happens.
Yep, sounds like normal manufacturing overseas to me. I've
Even
been
here
there.
in the U.S., there's just so much R&D to this.
Yeah, absolutely. What will be the next? Are you guys planning to attend another event similar to this and anytime soon as ML Toys?
Definitely. I just haven't picked which one yet. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I
Well, man,
really want to get up to Michigan, to
we,
one of the Lapeer races.
mhm.
I've been to a couple of Alex's races, and I love going to them. But seeing how other race directors are handling the races and how their different rules packages affects the car's ability to hold up and the end race speeds, I think that's valuable to us to get to do.
Absolutely. You got to get out there and you got to go out there and do that RD and see how things are going everywhere else in the world, in the USA. Well, world too. I'm sure somewhere else in the world they're doing this as well.
Yeah.
I'm already bragging that I have the fastest Power Wheels in Dominican Republic.
Yes, you do.
So somebody comes out there and straps a giant motor to back of one, and then like let's race. We'll see. I will say that I love my Dominicans. They're very inventive. They can do a lot with very little. So I wouldn't be surprised. Allan, I know you're a busy man. It was a great catch up with you. We're obviously going to try to get Alex on her. If you are a race promoter or you're doing something with Power Wheels, let us know in the comments here where you're located, what you guys are doing. We're always looking to get new guests on here, topics as well. We didn't get to do Q&A this week, but we will do it in the next one. You're probably going to see these a little more frequently than once a month. I'm trying to get into a rhythm where we can do at least 2 or 3 a month. We'll have this one coming out and have a next Power Wheels coming out podcast as well. Don't forget to hit that sub-like notification button. That's what I need from you guys. Please hit that sub-like notification button. Let's help grow this channel. Head over to our Instagram as well, our Facebook group. Let's get some conversations going. Let's talk about this type of stuff. I want to learn, and I am planning. We got to get Kiana up there. Maybe this year, if not early next year. Maybe not during the winter. Definitely it will be in the summer. Allan, thank you for all your support. Thank you to ML Toys for all the support. We do have a link for ML Toys as well as a coupon code that can save you some money. I'm so happy that you're out there doing the racing, because I remember when we first started, we had this conversation, and I think the racing is the key to getting everybody to know what we're doing, even though it's the smallest part of everything.
It is. I said on our first Power Wheel podcast, I don't try to create something and sell it to people. I listen to the need. The need for Power Wheels racing products is growing so rapidly. That's why we've changed a bit of our focus to get more involved. Alex has been doing design work for us, and we're trying to make that more of a permanent marriage. And yeah, it's cool stuff. Love seeing where it's going.
Absolutely. And don't forget to go over to Teeterbuilt and hit that like and notification button on his channel. That man's busy. He's got about 3 different YouTube channels and doing all that type of stuff, and 2 kids and working. He's young. He can handle it. Hey, thank you, Allan, for your time. Thank you to all the Power Wheels modification parents and uncles and everybody out there doing this for our kids. We do this for the kids. Send us some videos. Send us some photos of your rides. We definitely want to see that. We can post them up in the YouTube. We'll post them up on the Instagram as well. And I want to see, you know what? We got to start doing a monthly reader's ride here. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, let people submit rides to you.
Yeah, there we go. Submit your rides. It can be we want it to be good, look good, and tell us what modifications you've done to it. You can submit by video, you can submit by photo. And I don't know, we'll figure out some way where you win something every month. I don't know. Maybe ML Toys will come in and give you
We'll help
something.
you with that. Absolutely.
So there we go. In the comments, sir, or hit me up. I prefer in the comments of the Facebook or Instagram, because you can't share videos on YouTube. But let us know, and we want to see your rides out there. Show us what you guys are working with. You could have 10 of them. Show us your fleet. You know, you can have an impressive fleet, but we're definitely looking for something that looks good, and let us know all the modifications, and definitely got a video of your son or daughter driving it. Allan, you have a good day. Thank you for your time. I hope you guys enjoyed this shorter podcast. Thank you. Stay powered up with Power Wheels and keep on modifying, because we're going somewhere with that. From Allan and Lefty, we'll see you later.